Hi, it's the Masterful Living Coach here. My name is Hans Schumann. I'm a career and life coach and author of the book Falling in Love with Your Job. Welcome to another episode of my Changing Careers show, in which you see interviews with people who manage to create a job they truly love by either changing their profession or setting up their own business. And today I'm here with Angela Walker, who is a nutritionist in her own business, which is called Feed Yourself Smarter. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Angela, we have a bit of history because Angela used to be on my A team of health advisors who helped me through my 2 years health crisis with inflammatory bowel disease. And I sought you out at that time because you had a particular expertise in functional medicine testing, which I was interested. Mm-hmm. And what I didn't know at the time is that you weren't always a nutritionist, that you had a previous career as a marketing consultant. Tell us more about this and how you then became a nutritionist.
So I sort of stumbled a little bit into advertising and marketing. It was certainly an industry I wanted to go into, but I found myself in my early 30s. I was in advertising agencies. I loved it. It was great fun. But I reached the point where I thought, is this it? Do I want to be doing this in my 40s? And the answer was very clearly no. So I started looking around and thinking, well, what do I want to do? I had always been interested in food. I'd always been interested in what I ate. In particular, my fascination was, well, if I change my diet, if I eat these things and don't eat those things, how do I feel? I felt different. And that was the kind of bit, almost the sort of the cognitive, the neurological kind of connection. That's what fascinated me. Very good friend of mine had gone off and done a nutrition course, kind of correspondence, attendance nutrition course, and she was coming back with all this information and had all of us eating linseeds and drinking linseed oil and eating weird lecithin grains, but it was fascinating. And I wanted to know more. So I researched a little bit, found out about courses, found out, hey, this is actually something I could study and I could, turn this into a profession. I didn't even know they existed. And so I sort of took a leap of faith and started training in that field.
And tell me, when you became a marketing consultant, how did it start? Was that a passion at one point and it just changed?
Well, like many of us, I left school, knew I was going to university because I was told that's what I was going to do. So, happily went off to university knowing I was going to have a wonderful time, which I did, but didn't really think through. I'd done A-levels at school, so I had 3 subjects I was pretty good at. It was a case of sort of picking one of those subjects and then evolving it a little bit. And I think actually a boyfriend told me that marketing was quite interesting, so I looked for a course that had some marketing in it. I mean, it really wasn't very strategic, it wasn't very well thought through. I fell into it. And coming out of university, again, friends told me, you should do a graduate training scheme. If you can get on a graduate training scheme, that's a good idea. So I did, and I got onto one. And I fell into these things rather than being particularly, I wanted to get into advertising and I wanted to do marketing, but I didn't really know why, other than it seemed like a fun, interesting kind of career to follow.
Thanks for that. It's such a common story. It's the same story how I got into the law, and I hear the same story from so many people. We just fall into those careers.
Yeah.
So when you then made the move from marketing to becoming a nutritionist, what was involved? Presumably you had to learn quite a lot or get a qualification?
Yeah, I certainly did. The course I chose to do was a BSc, so it was a 4-year program. It was done a series of attendance to lectures, but also a lot of correspondence. So, going home and working on your own and submitting portfolios and essays and these kind of things. So it meant I could do it at my own pace, which was quite a fast pace, but it also meant I could carry on working. So I did that for 4 years, took me 4 years to qualify. And then I had a sort of a ticket, if you like, that kind of entitled me to start working as a nutritional therapist. But by then, I was always going off and attending other seminars and finding out more, reading more about the topic. And I become very interested in something called functional medicine. So that is really a movement that's coming from the US. And so when I had my BSc, I wanted to go and sort of do some postgrad study in functional medicine and undertook 2 different training programs with different institutions in the US. And then finally, I sort of wanted to add in something that understood the more conventional approach to nutrition. So I've spent the last 4 years doing a master's program in nutritional medicine based in Surrey, at University of Surrey in Guildford. And that really sort of was the final leg, if you like, of everything I wanted to really give you a very rooted and grounded and rounded perspective of my subject.
So Angela, there will be lots of people watching this who may be considering something similar, leaving their corporate job and setting up their own business. And at a very superficial level, it's actually quite easy. You find out what you feel passionate about and you make this your business. And you may have to get a qualification that you did. But then you have a skill, you don't have a business. And the real challenge is then how to find people who pay for that. How easy or difficult did you find that?
Yeah, that was certainly difficult. Part of the challenge with my field with nutrition, as I'm sure you found, is there is no structure or system in place where you go and get a job as a nutritionist in a sort of existing practice or business. You really have to be a self-starter. You have to be an entrepreneur and kind of create it yourself. And that's the bit they kind of don't teach you at nutrition school. They don't teach you how to do that. So it was difficult. I was lucky, I guess, in one respect, in that I had an advertising and marketing background. And I think the thing that gave me was an ability to communicate and to talk about my subject. And I think that hopefully helped. I also sort of thought about, well, how did I want to specialise and what kind of area of it, what niche did I want to go into? And the more I delved into nutrition, the more I kind of started to specialise and developed a sort of an expertise in the functional medicine side of things. So these things, I think, helped me to kind of carve out my own area of it, and then it becomes easier to find your clients that way.
And I know from working with you that you have an association with a quite reputable laboratory in Harley Street. And I guess that also gave you some social proof, credibility. How did you land that?
It's really interesting you say that, because hearing you say that, you kind of realise, gosh, yeah, I guess it did. But it wasn't, I'd love to say it had been as strategically planned as it maybe appeared. But to be honest, I knew of Biolab. They are very, very well regarded within our field. I'd met Mark and Nick through various different kind of conferences and lecturing and that kind of circuit, and I liked them an awful lot. There was also something about the clinic that made me feel of like an old-fashioned dentist or doctor's surgery, so it had a kind of a kudos and a credibility to it. But I'd never thought about how clients would perceive that, which is strange, bizarre, like I should have been more on it. But really it was a case of, because of all those reasons why I like them, and they have a great sort of flexibility with how you can use their practice rooms. So it just kind of made sense to me, yeah.
Well, the next thing viewers will be very envious about, because Angela actually moved to Ibiza, the island in Spain, and she's seeing her clients from there via Skype. I mean, how wonderful is that? That's a brilliant lifestyle.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this.
So I had finally, was setting up, my practice was growing and developing. I was really kind of enjoying the work I was doing and found, again, slightly by chance than by design, but I was doing more and more of my work remotely. And that was partly because as I got deeper into specialisms, people would come from further afield and they weren't necessarily sort of around the corner. So it stopped being such a local thing I did and became kind of had a wider sort of catchment. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't need to be in London anymore. Where do I go? I wanted out of London, but I just nothing was kind of grabbing me as to where I'd go. And again, that's unusual for me because normally if I decide I'm going to do something, I put it in place. And randomly, I went on holiday with a friend to Ibiza and really had quite a instantaneous, this is it, I can do this. And that felt really exciting. I'd been sort of contemplating moving to the countryside in the UK and sort of had this slightly face about it. It wasn't exciting, and the idea of moving to Ibiza was exciting. Now, the more I thought about this, the more I realised I'd always had this plan, this idea that I would end up living in Spain. But I'd kind of forgotten that until it just came back up, and suddenly I was moving to Spain. So having made that decision, within 6 months I was there.
I think this is a really interesting case study because so many people who set out to create their own business, they have a certain lifestyle in mind, a certain freedom that they want to create for themselves. But reality can look very different. You still find yourself sitting in front of a computer, just not in an office, in your study, maybe in a coffee shop, but you work longer hours, maybe weekends, and you don't really feel that freedom. You actually did create a different lifestyle and that freedom.
You're absolutely right. And I think this is, in sort of preparing myself for talking to you today, I was really kind of reflecting back on, well, how has my career change gone? And I do have regrets about the first part of my career change, not in doing it, but in how I executed it. And I know I could have done it in a much easier way on myself. And I guess perhaps the point is, I should have taken advice and guidance on really kind of how to map it out so that it was an easier process for me and didn't have so much wear and tear on me. Then having kind of established myself in my new career, I was exactly as you described. I felt overwhelmed, overworked, overburdened. I was working crazy long hours. Yes, it was a topic that I was fascinated in and still had a passion for, but it was taking its toll on me. And that really, the move to Ibiza gave me a chance to really kind of reflect and work on that and kind of do an appraisal of all the different components of the work that I did. What made sense? What do I really love? What gives me something back? And how can I do more of that and less of the things that was maybe doing because I ought to, or they felt like a bit of security.
You mentioned that there are some regrets about your initial stage of your career change. Can you tell us more about that? What are the things that you regret?
Probably the hardness with which I did it. I absolutely went at it. I forced myself to study longer and harder than anybody else. I had no time off, no downtime, because I was trying to get to this point where I would be in a new career and have this new lifestyle that I wanted. And I can hindsight is wonderful, isn't it? Because you can look back and say, oh, if only I'd done this, it would have been easier. But that's very much my advice to other people, is to really kind of think about the transition. Perhaps with hindsight, I would have been better off carrying on in a more kind of consultancy role in advertising and marketing so that I didn't have the financial pressure and strain and stress of developing my nutrition practice quite so quickly.
You went in there full steam rather than phasing it in.
And yeah, that's probably the biggest regret.
I get that, and I advise my clients, do gradually scale down your job and then build the business alongside, because it can take longer than you think and it can be harder than you think.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, maybe there were opportunities I could have done some marketing consultancy for nutrition brands and tried to sort of meld the two together. So I think there I could have maybe taken a step back, been a little less gung-ho and a little more, hang on, let's take the longer picture on this and what's going to be gentler on myself. That's something I really had to learn, to not be so hard on myself. And that hardness on myself is something that really kind of escalated through the end of my training and the start of going into practice.
Let's talk about the other elements of your business, because you're not just doing one-to-one consultations now. I've heard that you also do workshops with a company called Schumann. Tell us more about that.
So when I kind of entered into nutrition, I always had the idea that I'd do something in the more kind of corporate field. I'd come from advertising and marketing, I'd come from a corporate background, and it was an area I knew something about. I was introduced to Tignum as being kind of really the thought leaders, the kind of real innovators in that field, and I started working with them around 2011. And it's a fantastic opportunity. I get to travel, mainly in Europe, but also further afield. And I'm working with executives, really kind of focusing on the nutrition. What do those people need in order to sustain their performance at a really kind of high level? So I'm focusing on what does the brain need? How can we influence the gut and how it functions with the brain and coordinates with the brain? And it's really coming at it from a performance perspective. What do we need to perform at our best for sustained periods of time?
And then there's a third element. You promote a few products like purified chocolate. That sounds really great.
So yeah, purified chocolate, that is something that's still very, very new. I was approached about 6 months ago, was I interested in this product? And I was fascinated by it. What it is a chocolate product, a chocolate supplement. And for me, I'd been kind of looking to find opportunities where I could be a little bit more collaborative, where I could be a little bit more creative, kind of creating a product, creating a service and bringing that to people, kind of based on all the knowledge and expertise that I've built up over the years. And purified chocolate just seemed like a fascinating, exciting opportunity, and one that we're kind of running with, see where it goes.
Angela, we are nearly at the end of our time. If somebody wants to work with you, how can they find you?
You can find me at two places, feedyourselfsmarter.com. That's my blog, that's my kind of holding website, and also purifiedshop.com. And that's where we have the purified chocolate, and I've got lots of information on that as well.
Thank you so much. It's been really great having you here on the show, particularly since we had a very different relationship a few years ago when I was very sick, and it's amazing for me to sit here healthy, having this discussion with you now, and I wish you all the best for your business. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's my mission to help you create a job you truly love. And if you would like to see more interviews with people who manage to do exactly that, then do subscribe to the show. And I would also love to hear from you if you would like to be on the show to talk about your career change. That's all for today. See you next week.